In today's episode, we've got Ed Brinson from the North Carolina State Firefighters Association and our returning friend Matt Nolan from VFIS of North Carolina. We'll be delving into the latest on roster management, important dates, firefighter cancer programs, and much more. So let's roll the intro and stay tuned.
Welcome to Behind the Sirens, the VFIS of North Carolina series, where we dive into leadership, risk management, and key issues shaping fire and emergency services. Whether you're new or a seasoned pro, we've got insights to help you and your crew lead, protect, and serve with confidence.
I'm Travis. Welcome back to All Clear, another episode of Behind the Sirens with the guys from VFIS of North Carolina. Today we have Matt Nolan back with us again. How you doing, Matt?
Good to see you,
Good
Travis.
to see you too. And we have a third person joining us today. We've got Mr. Ed Brinson from the North Carolina State Firefighters Association, Deputy Director. He's got a lot of titles that go along with that and a lot of experience. Today we're going to be talking about roster management. There's a lot of things that have been going on with cancer in the fire service and with the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Alliance. We wholeheartedly back all of these things that are going on, and we're going to turn it over to these two gentlemen and let them talk about some of these changes and what departments need to know, especially in the very, very near future. So, Matt, I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Travis. Welcome, everybody, to Behind the Sirens. Just a quick reminder of the purpose of this platform. This is an informal dialogue, just wanting to get information out to you all. And this is so important. I'm going to start the talk today as far as just highlighting the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Program. So important to remember how this has changed and had been updated over the last several years. But Ed, talk to us about, if you will, the beginning of the program. When did it start?
The cancer program started on January the 1st of 2022, which was a pilot program. And the benefits at that time was set by the General Assembly, and they also set requirements for the cancer benefit. And one of those requirements is that any claim or member that was filing a claim for cancer had to be on the North Carolina State Firefighter Association roster. The program has been very successful. We have processed around 500 claims that have come in. Not all have been paid. Some were ineligible. And, but we have, the program has been very successful. Since then, legislation has been passed to add retirees to the cancer program. And that benefit takes effect July 1st of 2025.
Those changes came in with some of the legislative, the final legislative changes that occurred in the fall of 2024. And again, I just want to highlight, we're going to say this date multiple times in the talk today, but July 1st, 2025. And its important aspect as far as bringing in a very important class of firefighters in our state. Those people who have served for a long period of time, have been exposed for a long period of time. They were not included in the original legislation, or somewhat carved out unintentionally. But we're excited. Most of the talk today is about the effect of accurate roster management for that class of firefighter. So at the end of this, we're going to have several links for you, and we're going to reference several websites that you can go and get more information. But please share this video. So as Ed and I kind of have a conversation, I'm going to ask him questions. He's going to highlight some of the important aspects as far as the things that you need to know from an administrative standpoint, and those dates. So the first thing I would like to talk about as far as retirees, to note, along with that July 1st, 2025 date is when that kicks in, is the retirees will be covered for a 10-year period. Okay. That 10-year period, initially from July 1st, 2025, we'll look back to July 1st, 2015. After that initial date, when we go effective, that 10-year retrospective look back is going to be based off a cancer diagnosis. Okay. So as long as, like Ed said, we have a roster entry for someone, that 10-year retrospective look back period is going to be based off of the diagnosis date after July 1st, 2025. So benefits as far as retrospectively looking back, because we've got quite a few claims that because of the carve out that were originally denied. So benefits, we are going to go back and look at those claimants who have a denial for roster and eligibility over the last 3 years of the program. And there are going to be a couple of ways that those things are going to be applied. Okay. So program start date was January 1st, 2022. So that's an important date to remember. If the diagnosis was after January 1st, 2022, but between January 1st, 2022 and July 1st, 2025, we are going to have an opportunity based on legislation and how we've set this up to go back and retrospectively look at those cases. And we'll talk about what that process is going to look like a little bit later on. We get to frequently asked questions, some of the questions we get in the field. But it is very important as fire chiefs, those of you who are listening to the program, we need your help. We want you to make sure that the members that you have, currently active members, and also those who may have left the department over the last several years, understand that, hey, moving forward, they may have an opportunity for some potential benefit. People in North Carolina, they want to support their firefighters. And as we prepare for the July 1st date and the program changes that are going to take effect, what are the top 3 or 4 things that a fire officer needs to know related to roster management and how it impacts the benefit of firefighter?
Well, Matt, the first thing that the fire chief needs to do is make sure that his retirees are on the roster. That is the anchor point for all the benefits from the NCSFA, the state, especially the cancer benefit. And we have 2 categories for those members, retired members, 3 actually. One is retired active, and that is an active firefighter that has served 20 years in his creditable service, certified service every year for a period of 20 years. The active retired fire is eligible for the cancer benefit if they're diagnosed after January 1st, 2022. The second category is retired inactive. The retired inactive firefighter is someone that has served 20 years, has 20 years of certified service, and they are no longer can be classified as a firefighter. They are eligible for that benefit starting July 1st of 2025 for a period of 10 years back that you just talked about, the retrospective benefit. They must be on the roster by July 1st of 2025.
So let's hit that one more time. For those members that have retired in the last 5, 6 years, 10 years or so, it is very important that they are on the roster as of July 1st, 2025, if they've had a cancer diagnosis between the dates of January 1st, 2022 and July 1st, 2025. That will allow us to go back and provide benefit. Per the way the legislation is written, if they're not on the roster on July 1st, 2025, our hands will be tied. We won't be able to apply those benefits. Okay?
Now, the retirement inactive benefit roster category is a paid dues position. It also makes the member eligible for the NCSFA AD&D benefit. We didn't feel it was right for the General Assembly to provide this benefit for retirees and have to pay dues. So we have a second retired category called non-member retired. The non-member retired is a non-dues paying position. They are eligible for the cancer benefit, just like the retired active and inactive. The only difference is you don't have to pay dues for that position. Going back for the 10 years, from July 1st of 2025, it goes back to July 1st of 2015. So members are eligible for the cancer benefit as long as they're diagnosed after January 1st, 2020, just like the other category.
One of the things we didn't talk about was the type of benefit as far as that change, because there will be a change in the benefit structure come July 1st, 2025 too. So it's important to understand as well. We'll probably answer a question that a lot of you will have ahead of time. For that retrospective look back, the benefit structure of the current program, which is a $25,000 lump sum diagnosis-related benefit, a $12,000 medical reimbursement benefit for medical expenses that come out of pocket, and then the eligibility or access to a total disability for 36 months, cumulative 36 months, total disability benefit. Now, one of the things that changes about that structure come July 1st, 2025, is instead of having a separate lump sum benefit and medical reimbursement benefit, we are combining those two. The legislation combines those two. So there'll be a single $37,000 lump sum diagnosis-related benefit, along with the total disability benefit that will be carried forward. So again, wanted to make that clear. Anyone with a cancer diagnosis between January 1st, 2022 and July 1st, 2025, that falls within this retired category, they are on a roster, will be able to look back and they will receive the benefits as structured in the current program, $25,000, $12,000 total disability. Okay. Any diagnosis after July 1st, 2025, it will fall under the new program or the enhanced enhancements that take effect. It'll be a one-time $37,000 lump sum, no medical reimbursement that's being pulled into that lump sum, and then the 36 months of total disability, as long as that disability is related to the cancer diagnosis. Okay. Very good.
Matt, we've talked about the retirees. Let's talk about the active members on July 1, 2025 with the enhanced benefit. The members, paid and volunteer members, must have 5 continuous years of service prior to diagnosis, just like from January 1st through 2022, but they will be eligible for the new enhanced benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that we'll touch on again in the frequently asked questions related to that 5 continuous years of service. And it's important to note, and that is in regards to those individuals who have served for less than 20 years, but have decided to leave the fire service. It's very important for you guys at Fire Administration to have that conversation about benefits with members who are contemplating leaving the department. To leave the department early or prior to that 20-year mark, it may cost them access to the program, right? You have to, by definition of the legislation, you have to have 20 years of certified service. Now, one of the things that you and I talked about in preparation for this is when we talk about 5 continuous years for active, it doesn't necessarily have to be all 20 years served consecutively.
Correct.
So there would be opportunity for some firefighters who have left and they want to come back. They've learned about the cancer program that North Carolina's provided for them, and they want to serve those 1 or 2 years to fulfill that 20-year obligation. They can do that. Remember, step 1, they need to be on a roster, right? If they come back active and they're getting that 36 hours of minimum training, obviously you're going to put them on that roster. Now, one caveat to that is because of the way the legislation is written, to be eligible for cancer benefit during that few years of service they're trying to catch up, you have to have 5 continuous years of service. So they would not have access to the cancer benefit until they get that 1 or 2 years, whatever it is they're trying to make up, and become inactive. Now that's complicated. That's hard to explain. I'm sure it's hard for you to wrap your mind around. So that's one of the things that we want to encourage for those of you who are listening in to this conversation. The guys at NCSFA, we're here. Please contact us and ask those questions. If you have someone who's contemplating leaving and they're concerned about how they need to approach the next couple of years, or how they would need to approach roster management as a chief, and how you're managing your roster, please don't hesitate to reach out to NCSFA. You guys are there to answer those questions.
Thank you, Matt. One important note is that we talked about continuous service, 5 years of continuous service. Those are 36 hours of training each year certifiable, credible service.
We'll return after these messages.
Are you enjoying this podcast? If so, we have a small favor to ask. Subscribing and donating helps us to keep the show running and brings you even more great content. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. You'll be able to support what you love. Donations, no matter how small, can help us cover production costs, improve the quality of each episode, and generally keep the lights on. So hit that subscribe button, and if you can, consider making a donation. Visit us at allclearpodcast.com to donate and catch up on past episodes and even read our blog. Thanks for listening and supporting our show.
All right. I know we've been, Jackie and I know you guys have been, it's been the road show since the new legislation took effect, trying to get the word out. This is another format and a medium that we're trying to get the word out about some of these changes, whether it be in individual departments or in regional meetings. We're trying to make sure that every year that we can get into, here's this. We always get good questions in these forums, and we've already touched on some of them, but we want to kind of approach this from a frequently asked questions standpoint, and maybe frame it as if you were getting that question too. So let's hit on a couple of those questions, if you will. One of the questions I get a lot is in reference to what we just talked about. I've got a member who has 19 years of service. They're interested in retiring. What should a chief tell the member? Number one, it has benefits implications. If we can keep you for one more year, number one, we're going to have a good firefighter for one more year. So there's retention aspect for the department. But number two, if you leave before 20 years and you retire, you will not have access to that 10-year window for cancer diagnosis. Anytime in that 10 years post-retirement or going inactive, if you're diagnosed with cancer, you won't have access to the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Program. So what should they do? They should get their 36 hours. They should fill that 20-year obligation. And then the chief, the department, from a roster management standpoint, will need to maintain them going forward, including that inactive date.
That's correct.
All right. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it's extremely important for the member to stay on board and not leave. That 20-year period is critical for not only for the cancer benefit, but for the Fire Rescue Pension Fund, if they're a member of that.
Absolutely. The second question that we wanted to present, member recently left. They want to come back to an active status to serve a few more years to get 20. What should they be aware of as far as the time requirement during that service period? We touched on that earlier as well. The legislation dictates eligibility for active firefighters 5 continuous years of service. The one caveat to that is the time between going from one department to another or service state to service state. There's a 6-month window. So if they just left, they've got 6 months to come back, and they'll still be considered continuous years. Outside of that 6 months, in more than 6 months from their inactive date to the time they come back in, they would have to serve 5 more continuous years to receive the benefit for an active firefighter. Okay. Right. Now, if it's just those couple of years and there's no diagnosis, no harm, no foul, we move forward. They become inactive. They would have 10 years of coverage once they meet that 20 years. But we really want to reiterate that. Again, for those who are considering leaving the fire service prior to that 20-year period, if you come back in, you wouldn't be eligible until you serve 5 continuous years again. Cool. How about this question? Can we add a retired member back to the roster after June 30th, 2025, if they haven't been diagnosed with cancer?
Yes, you can. For them to get the retiree benefits, you can add them back in. And as Matt spoke just a moment ago, if they stay for a period of longer than 2 years or 1 year, and they stay active, then they have to have that 5 years continuous service to be eligible. However, they can retire and move to the retired inactive or the non-member retired and be eligible because they haven't acquired that 20 years of service.
The key about that June 30th, 2025 deadline that you've seen in your communications from NCSFA, They've sent that communication out via the chiefs in writing. That deadline is important for those members that have a diagnosis between January 1st, 2022 and July 1st, 2025. They need to be on that roster by July 1st. Okay. If they haven't been diagnosed yet, they can be added any time, but you always run the risk of, we don't know when that diagnosis is going to happen. So we encourage you guys, in regards to roster management, make sure you have those who have left the department in the last 10 years be added by June 30th, 2025. But you can add them downstream as that information gets out, as somebody shares it to you, or you're sharing it with other people. Remind them of that. It's never too late to add them unless they've already been diagnosed.
Correct. After July 1st, they cannot be added to the roster if they have been diagnosed with cancer prior to then.
So what do I do if I filed a claim over the last few years and received a denial because of my inactive status? Should I refile?
Yes. It's important to refile so that we have current information for audit purposes from the state. And the status of the cancer may have changed since an original filing. So yes, they should refile.
So we're looking at all of the claims over the last several years, and we're going to do our best to help facilitate some of those that we know that we're retirees. We've gone through and tried to classify as many as we can. So we're going to try to communicate. But as you're hearing this, as you're getting communications from NCSFA, please encourage anyone who has retired and was essentially informed via their denial letter that it was due to their inactive status. They've got 20 years of service, and they're on the roster appropriately in the classifications we've talked about. Please refile. We want to see those. We want those coming back in. We want you to receive the benefit the state of North Carolina wants for you, or is provided for you. So I want to give Ed an opportunity to kind of close this out here with just parting words. And Ed, this is an opportunity to talk about the overall well-being for our fire service and the things that you guys provide for them and advocate for us. Well, Ed, one other thing that I think we need to talk about within roster management is some of we talked about the classifications, but with those classifications has come a new people. And some of you guys have seen it that are responsible for roster management in your departments, but that's the inactive date. Talk a little bit about that field, what it means, and some of the impetus behind that.
Thank you. We've actually added the NCSFA retirement date, official retirement date for the inactive firefighter and the non-member retired firefighter. This date is certified by the state, by the fire chief as the official retirement date of the member. And they're also certified by General Statute 588625 that member has had 20 years of certified credible service. So it's important for the chief to understand when they hit save after they have entered this date that they're certifying this date is true and correct. And that'll be the date we use for that 10-year respective period and the period going forward.
One of the things around this field, or one of the questions I get, comments, there's a lot of you guys are working diligently to go back and add those names back within these classifications we're talking about. Keep in mind, this is a field that's there to stay. This will be something that going forward, as members decide to retire, it's very important that this is maintained. And again, it's going to prompt you when you go through the process of addressing the retirement status or classification status of that member. Once you choose retired and you do not check the active button, this field is going to populate for you upon saving. So it's there in your base. It's hard to miss, but make sure you're looking at that diligently.
You also have to have a date in that category, because if we don't have a date, we won't be able to offer the benefit.
That's right. Now, Ed, I'm going to ask an off-the-cuff question, something that will throw to you. When it comes to a member that has gone from one department to the next, maybe they have 5 years in one department, 15 in another. I know the unintended consequences of some of the way we have to manage this is who maintains that retired firefighter. What does NCSFA have to say about that?
the last department they served in, that chief is responsible for obtaining that information from either the previous department, or we can assist with that if they let us know what departments they had served in.
Very good. Very good. Communication. If you have a question about that date, that field, please contact Ed and his team at NCSFA. Let them walk you through it. And once it's there, we can process. We're good.
That's good.
Awesome. So any parting words?
Well, yes. I can't emphasize enough the importance of our fire chiefs to maintain a timely and accurate NCSFA membership roster. It is the anchor point for all of their benefits, all the state benefits, the line of duty benefits, cancer benefits, the NCSFA accidental death and dismemberment benefit, and the Department of Justice PSO put a beat benefit. There is no probationary period, time for benefits. When a member joins your department, you need to hand them to the roster that day or that night. If something were to happen to them during the gap between the time they joined the department and the time they were added to the roster, then they would not be covered for benefits for the NCSFA and possibly lose their PSOB and North Carolina State firefighter benefits. So if you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to contact our office. We'll be glad to talk with you by email or phone. And then I'll turn it back to you.
Absolutely. And just a reference as far as contact, there's a ton of information that both of our websites contain. Whether you go to ncsfa.com, please visit the site, or VFISNC.com. And both of those are going to be in the show notes. We'll have links to those. But there's information about the cancer program on both of those sites. There's detailed information. And when you file a claim, you're going to be directed through our website at VFISNC.com for that initial form. So Travis is going to hook us up with those links and its contact information, or the contact information for NCSFA to get to Ed and those at the association that can answer those questions. You won't be able to miss that. We'll make it clear. Other information on those sites outside of the cancer program is so important. It's crucial, especially as it relates further to oncology and the fire service. But one of the things that I would encourage you guys to visit that site for is all of the additional benefits that are there, like cancer screening. We want to talk about a little bit of that.
Sure. 3 years ago, Blue Cross and Blue Shield provided a $200,000 grant to the NCSFA fundraiser entity called the North Carolina Firefighters Fund. This is a $3,000 reimbursable cancer screening benefit it's available to only volunteer firefighters. And that was a requirement of Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but any department that has volunteer firefighters can apply for this. We don't dictate the type of screening you can do. You can do blood screening, scans, or even dermatology appointments for skin screenings. But it is a $3,000 benefit that has been greatly underutilized, and it's there for you to use. The application for the reimbursement is both on the NCSFA website and the NCFF website. The only criteria we have is that you send us a list of names of the volunteer firefighters that participated in the program. And we don't want to know what their diagnosis was. We hope they're all clear, but it's their funding there available for you and your members to utilize.
So important. As wonderful and as robust as the benefit for the North Carolina firefighters is when it comes to cancer, we can't highlight that enough.
Right.
We want to find it before it's advanced. We want to find it as soon as possible. Cancer screening is so crucial. We can't promote that enough. And as well as all the mitigation efforts when it comes to prevention. Cancer prevention is something I never want to talk about the cancer program without talking about cancer prevention. We're so glad the benefits there, but we don't want advanced stage cancer, and we don't want any cancer. We want you to prevent it. So make sure you guys are putting some effort and prioritization in getting trained. There are resources out there for you related to information and tools. So please let us know how we can help. Travis, we're looking forward to future conversations. Thank you so much for hosting us on the All Clear podcast and letting us utilize the Behind the Sirens platform. Quick plug, just like we talked about the other day, several topics for gearing up for coming down the pipe. Hopefully we'll have a couple of set up at SAPR this year in August. One of those be a young leaders forum, if you will. Good to hear from young up-and-coming fire officers in the state. And maybe they can provide some encouragement and some opportunity for some mentorship for others who are looking at advancing their careers and developing their leadership skills in the fire service. And then we're going to have several other topics. Hopefully another one be a risk management related topic around what are some of the trends in risk when it comes to emergency service, fire service, specifically what in the world is happening in the world of losses. We all have a heightened awareness here in our state when it comes to lead and the aftermath there that we're still working through in Western North Carolina. But the everyday things that we have a lot of you guys that have ever sat in a class with me when it comes to losses always like to throw this out there. The number one loss we see, we hit a lot of things that don't move. We back into inanimate objects. So how do we overcome that? What kind of impact does that have on our risk profile moving forward? So those are some interesting things that I think would benefit a lot of officers in the fire service when it comes to that. So, Trav, I'm going to pass it back to you to take us home.
Well, I have been sitting here and taking notes diligently while y'all are talking. And as Matt and Ed have mentioned, all of the websites for the ncsfa.com, VFISofNC.com will be in our show notes. Also, you can go to allclearpodcast.com, which is our website, and you can get show notes and all that good stuff there as well. But one thing I do want to say from the perspective of the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Alliance, we appreciate the effort that you guys are putting into all this, the education that goes forward. And Matt, you and I were actually talking yesterday. We've had a case, with one of my coworkers for the department that he volunteers at, that they're trying to work through it. So people need to understand how much of a tight-knit operation this is between VFIS, the State Firefighters Association, and all that. So it's very important that people understand they can reach out to you guys at any time. And likewise, you can call us at the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Alliance. We'll be happy to get folks routed your way as well. But looking forward to more conversations. Ed, hopefully you'll come back and join us again. And
we're glad to. Thank you.
There's a plethora of things to talk about. And as we always say here on the All Clear podcast, light your fire within. Do you have an idea that you can't quite get out of your head and onto paper? Does your department need updated shirts? If so, you need to talk to the guys over at Studio Print Shop. We've been working with the guys at Studio on making some of our ideas become reality. Whether you need screen printing, embroidery, or graphic design, they have you covered. They're even working with the latest direct-to-garment printing technology to make your ideas come true. Check out their link on our website or go to studioprintshop.com and get 10% off your first order when you use the discount code ALLCLEAR. Studio Print Shop, creativity fueled by passion and vision.